Hi guys, I have a somewhat unusual video for you today. Usually on my channel I talk about coins that have the potential for growth. However, today we are going to talk about assets that are not worth your attention, and even more so, not worth buying. You will learn what my top 3 worst coins are in the current market, how I select assets, and assess the risks of investing in them. So be sure to watch this video till the end before you start investing in certain assets. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. I want to make it clear right away that any information in this video is not financial advice. It's just my own opinion and vision of the market. So do your own research and evaluate the risks for yourself. I also want to make another disclaimer so that you all understand a very important detail right away. Right now, the market is in a bull phase. The market is growing. You can just look at how much the total cryptocurrency capitalization has grown just since the beginning of 2024, plus 50% in 6 months, and we have not yet seen the main market boom where absolutely everything is going to go up. I say this so that you understand that the current market allows almost all projects to grow, simply because of the huge liquidity in the market. So don't be surprised if some of the tokens in this selection go up in value in the future. You can really buy any token today and make at least 50–100% profit, at least double your capital. But there is a risk that these coins will not bring 5, 10, 20 times more. These coins either did not have good results so far, or are in bad narratives, have negative market dominance, lack of social presence, or terrible tokenomics. So I suggest we move on to the parameters by which all this can be determined. Before investing, I always try to assess the ratio of risk to potential reward. For some coins, the risk-reward ratio is 50-50, meaning that there is a 50% chance of losing money on these coins. For others, the ratio may be 30–70, and so on. Unfortunately, big risks don't always mean big rewards, because there are so many other factors to consider. At this point, to survive in the market, a coin must be in the current narrative. This doesn't mean that only AI coins will increase in value when the narrative is AI, but they will do so much more than others. It is also very important that the team is actively involved in the project, makes a roadmap, and clearly follows it, constantly reports on its actions, not just talks about something, but actually demonstrates the result of its work. This is especially true at a time when tens, if not hundreds, of thousands of new tokens are being created every day. Teams are simply obligated to maintain the project's social networks, marketing campaigns, and collaborations with other projects and communities. And of course, don't forget that the team needs to be verified. In fact, these are the simplest but most important indicators that allow you to draw some general conclusions about projects and thus filter out the most unworthy ones. Of course, before you invest, you need to consider in more detail the usefulness of the project, the number of real owners and users of the product, and so on. But such a superficial analysis is enough to identify really bad projects. So I suggest we move on to my top coins. And before we move on to the first token, I want to make it clear that you should not be disappointed that the token you hold is in this selection. Personally, I want each of you to make a substantial amount of money in the current market. But for me, I don't see any potential in the tokens from this top. So Ripple is opening up this anti-selection with their XRP token. I think almost all of you have heard of this coin at least once, and those of you who have been in the market for a long time have probably even made some good money on the price of this token. But that was at the peak of the last bull market. And where is the coin now? Right now, we see it falling since the beginning of the year, even though the entire crypto market has grown by 50% over the same period. This means that despite the overall positive trend, XRP has quite a negative and even bearish sentiment. At the same time, the token is now even in the top 10 of the entire market in terms of market capitalization. And in my opinion, this is a very overvalued capitalization. After all, you can easily compare what other projects from the same top 10 are doing. Ethereum, BNB, and Solana are actually the current core of Layer 1 blockchains, the largest in terms of fees, volume, and TVL. It is impossible to compare them with stablecoins because they are tokens of a completely different category. Dogecoin is of course a very overvalued token, but it is the main representative of the current meme coin narrative. There are doubts about TON, but it is one of the fastest growing blockchains right now, and it has a pretty good chance of attracting a lot of people from Web 2, but that is the topic of a separate big video. So that leaves Cardano, which I have no less questions about than XRP, but we will talk about that later. And finally, XRP, which occupies the market of transfers and the so-called connector between the Web 2 and Web 3 spheres. And if you compare it to the rest of the top 10 coins, it feels like it shouldn't be here. Marketing, in my opinion, is the biggest mistake of the responsible people. After all, the project is not promoted. It is not in the information space. There is no impression that XRP is in the market for 2024, when it is very important to always be heard, to speak loudly about yourself in social networks. By the way, this chart is a great indicator of the failure of the promotion of the project. Here you can see that the number of mentions of the project in social networks has simply dropped to a minimum. The lack of major and really necessary technical updates is also a very big reason for the drop since the beginning of 2024. Of course, we can say that they are planning to create their own stablecoin and so on. But is this really necessary? The US is planning to make some adjustments to the operation of stablecoins in state jurisdictions. Moreover, Ripple itself has problems with the SEC that have not yet been resolved. Moreover, all the promises that Ripple transfers will replace SWIFT are somewhere behind us, and there is still no realization. However, I would not be objective if I only talked about the disadvantages of this project. So I want to point out some pros. I can't help but point out that the project actually has a fairly large partner base. However, it should be noted that most of these partnerships were formed in previous market cycles. If Ripple wins the final victory over the SEC, it is obvious that XRP will show growth, as it has done several times before. We have seen this situation twice before, but twice that growth was followed by a major decline. So even in the case of a final victory, I don't expect XRP to grow even to $1. However, if we talk about a longer-term perspective and the peak of the bull market, we can see up to 5 times. Even though the original idea was quite good, fast transfers around the world thanks to crypto, unfortunately that narrative is no longer relevant, and Ripple itself is outdated and no longer really meets the needs of the current market. But enough about this asset. I propose to move on, and in the meantime, what do you think about my assessment of XRP? The second token will also be a fairly old and well-known to many crypto enthusiasts, Cardano. Just like XRP, the main popularity and price growth occurred at the peak of the bull market in 2021. However, unlike Ripple, the ADA token has shown 78% growth since the beginning of this year. This is definitely a positive indicator and shows us that there is at least some investor interest in this asset. At the same time, Cardano's goals and technologies are quite attractive, as they aim to solve the problem of blockchain compatibility and generally spread the story of decentralized applications on the blockchain. In addition, the project itself is representative of the Layer 1 narrative of blockchains, which is actually a constant and relevant topic for the crypto market. That's if we talk about the general advantages of the project, but unfortunately, it has a lot of disadvantages that emphasize everything that was said before. It has a huge capitalization, which in my opinion does not correspond to the reality of the current market. As for the promotion of the project and its updates, this is a rather controversial issue, and I will now explain why. Unfortunately, marketing problems are a common feature of all the tokens that will be discussed in this video. By the way, when it comes to social popularity and the number of mentions of the ADA token and the Cardano blockchain, you can also see a significant decline here. And even if you completely move away from this chart, even without statistics, any person who has been following the crypto market for a long time can tell you that ADA has fallen out of the crypto information space. However, all is not so bad, as the project team itself notes. Most likely, within the current month, we will see the latest update to the roadmap. It is called Voltaire and is aimed at increasing the level of decentralization, and it should be a pretty good catalyst for local growth. Unfortunately, this is the only advantage I can highlight. Cardano's relatively low bandwidth may limit its ability to scale and deliver high performance. That is, at the time of recording the video, this blockchain is limited in terms of its performance capabilities, which certainly does not favor it in the best way. Only 1,000 transactions per second, while one of its direct competitors, Solana, has 65 times faster performance. And besides, we should not forget that the blockchain ecosystem is perhaps the best indicator of its relevance. So, TVL Cardano is a great indicator of how much people are not interested in this blockchain right now during a fairly active phase of the market. So, taking into account all these facts, it becomes clear that ADA, although it will give X, is not the best asset for investment. The last token is Quant Network. Here I can immediately say that, unlike the first two tokens, it is not in the top 10 coins by capitalization, which can be attributed more to the positive side. By the way, I have already made a video about this token, and it was in the vein of the fact that a once very famous and popular asset is slowly becoming useless. At that time, I received a lot of hate. No one agreed with me in the comments. Everyone thought that the project had a very high potential for further growth. I said that I had sold all my coins and did not plan to buy this asset anymore. And since then, we have seen an incredible drop. Almost a 50% drop in 3 months, when we saw both market pullbacks and vice versa, and a rapid growth to 73,000. This is a result that speaks for itself. But I can't stop there, so let me give a more objective assessment of the project. Quant Network is a project based on blockchain interoperability. This is a very correct goal and purpose because it has incredible potential. It opens many more possibilities for the whole Web3 world. We have already considered Cardano, which also occupies this area. At the same time, in addition to this area, Quant also occupies the field of tokenization, which is also a pretty cool narrative. And although the project is developing quite well in this area, it seems to me that the newcomers to RWA will legitimately overtake Quant Network in the tokenization business. And if we're talking about the downside, it's clear that the project is seriously losing popularity, with the number of mentions over the past year at a minimum. In general, although the project has started to pay more attention to its blog and social media, it still does not provide the level of marketing that would be sufficient for the real growth of the token and the ecosystem as a whole. In addition, the crypto community is quite cautious about the token itself, as Quant Network openly demonstrates its desire to work on the CBDC project. At one of the largest financial conferences in the UK, the CBDC director and representatives of the Quant team raised the issue of CBDC and how to implement it. As you can imagine, the company that will implement this process is likely to be Quant Network. The crypto community does not like the issue of centralization, let alone general control over almost every action they take. Therefore, it is likely that QNT will see even more hate and a rollback in the price of the token. Therefore, while Quant Network has cool technology, a smart team, and partners, I unfortunately see no reason for this token to outperform its direct competitors. Once again, I would like to remind you that all of these words do not mean that the token will never grow again. It is quite realistic that it will still show good growth rates, but it will, and already carries a lot of risks, just like the other two tokens in the selection, which is why I have included them here. And I want to remind you that this video is by no means financial advice. This is just my vision and thoughts on the market, so always do your own research before investing and invest wisely. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the growth of coins. Thanks for watching. Your Coin Post.